This is Brent Rains for Alternate Perceptions, doing another interview. I just interviewed last Friday Lynn Miller about, well, it's been a year since the book Convergence, the Interconnection of Extraordinary Experiences came out, that she and Barbara Mango both co-authored together. And so now I have the other author with me, Barbara Mango. It's now Monday, the March 21st. And so we're going to talk about the book some more, what it's about, the contents, and anything additional going on since the book came out a year ago. So anyway, Barbara, welcome to welcome.
Hi, Brent. Thanks. It's so good to be back again.
Yeah, it's been a little while. I've been doing YouTubes, mainly little segments there with Dr. Greg Lowell, and I know you guys have had things that kind of tied you up, and you've done some various podcasts promoting your book, and they've been some really pretty nice shows that you guys have done. And so anyway, I know we've all been kind of slowed down with the pandemic, and of course in Connecticut the winter.
Brent, it's still here. I'm telling you, we had a blizzard last Sunday, so it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I'm tell you, it's 71 here with sunshine. Wow, it's nice.
I'm so jealous.
Oh man, we got Bradbury pear trees that are blossoming. It's so hopefully we won't get any. The weather goes up and down. You have a nice day and then boom.
Yeah, I hear you.
But it's spring now, so I hope it's done sprung. But anyway, I guess we might start out. Because we'll start wherever you want to start, but maybe just again telling maybe a little bit. Lynn said you guys worked on the book for about 3 years and brought the science and the stories together, and we talked about how your experiences and her experiences were everything in the book was something you guys had yourselves experienced.
Yeah, we did. The only thing neither of us personally has experienced is a near-death experience. So a friend of ours named Penny Wilson, she had 4 near-death experiences. She went into anaphylactic shock 4 separate times. So she contributed hers. And then another friend of mine who happens to be an RN, and her name's Erica McKenzie, she wrote the foreword. And she had a really profound near-death experience and had a terrible experience in the hospital that kind of really prompted her into working in the field of like a gap of care, because she was a nurse and the medical field didn't know what to make of her near-death experience and didn't believe her when she told them that she had one, and they basically involuntarily committed her to the psych ward for 3 months. So she contributed her story too. So yes, Lynn and I have had all the experiences in the book. Lynn is mainly like, out-of-body experiences, and I've had a lot of past life experiences and all kinds of other like extraordinary experiences. So that's how it got to be rounded in all of those areas.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that in this day and time, and as much has been written by so many authors on the near-death experience, and not treating it like it's some abnormal mental condition. It's treating it like it's really an area that needs to be addressed further by science and the medical community, that this would happen in this day and time.
Yeah, it does. And anyway, so to go back a tiny bit to that, and that's what prompted me to do what I'm doing now. It's related to the book, but it's extended past the book. So yes, and Erica is actually kind of inspired me to do what I'm doing. Yeah, so in the hospital, Erica flatlined, she died and was resuscitated. And when she woke up, she told the attending physician, "I saw God." She was so excited to tell him,
Mhm.
or her
Yeah.
version of God, however she worded it. And he just stared at her, gave her a really dirty look and walked out of the room.
Mm.
And yeah, and the next thing she knew, she was in the psych ward. And she had three small children at the time, and it was involuntary. And she was stuck there. So, in the psych ward, you have to go to group. You go to individual counseling, you go to group counseling. So when she was in the psych ward, she felt safe there, right? Because they treat you differently, and all the other people that are in there, and she felt very comfortable. So in the group discussions, she tried to tell more of her story, and it didn't go over so well. It wasn't the understanding
Mm.
environment she thought it was. So every time she tried to talk about it, they basically just medicated her. And it took about 2 months before the light bulb clicked, and she's like, wait a minute, the only way I'm going to get out of here is if I like stifle this whole thing and pretend that I really was, delusional and having hallucinations, right? So it wasn't until she figured that out and then, started going, oh my God, I never saw God. Oh, well, I must have been like losing it. And until that point, they finally, discharged her. So, like, we do talk about that in our book, a lot of it, how these things aren't taken seriously. And it's so upsetting to experiencers, and we feel so invalidated. That's it throughout our book, like a common theme. But it's also kind of the path that I'm now on too. It's the lack of understanding and compassion and, you know, any belief that these are real experiences in the medical community. It's just something I'm like really passionate about to try to change that. Yeah, and you know how that started, Brent? It started with you. So, um,
Say
you know,
what?
like it started with you and and Joey and Tanya Medea. So
Oh,
yeah, remember? I
yeah.
can't remember. Yeah. So my father died in 2016. He was in hospice and he passed of
Mhm.
cancer. And before he died, I talked to him very frankly and openly, and he actually became very spiritually opened at the end. And I said, Dad, I really want you to visit me. Like I'm going to miss you so much. I need to know you're okay. And I want you to visit me. And do you understand what I mean? And he said,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. And I said, but Dad, I want it in a big way. Like, I don't want like to find a penny on the floor, like just something that's so vague, right? I don't really know if it's that. And he promised me he would, but nothing happened. So that was in 2016, and nothing, 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 nothing. And then it, I can't remember, Brent. Do you remember when that was? But
That was about a year ago. I mean, that wasn't even that
yeah,
long ago. Yeah, we all did it together on Skype. You joined together on
yeah,
Skype.
right. So it was, oh my gosh, it was amazing. So she's so talented. She's such a great, she's a past life I can't remember exactly. Is it a past life regression
Yeah,
hypnotherapist or?
she had gone through a course with the Association for Research and Enlightenment on Hypnosis,
Okay.
uh, with the Edgar Casey Foundation, and
Right.
so we were getting together as groups of people interested in all these variety of things, and she offered to do a demonstration, to tell about it, the technique she used, and she went into great detail, and then she regressed, if you want to call it that, yourself as well as another friend of ours, Dan Erickson, about
Right.
some memories he had in the past. So, yeah, it was quite extraordinary, and I remember emotional, and it was we were all a witness to it, and being psychic as she is, she seemed Medea seemed to really pick up on what you were experiencing and seeing as well. I recall.
Oh, it was amazing. So through that experience, I mean, Tanya, she's so talented and her voice is so, I mean, how can you not be relaxed by it, right? And
Yeah.
she's so kind and compassionate. And I had no idea what to experience. I didn't have any like set quote, goals or intentions. I just laid there. And I had the most powerful experience of connecting with my father. And I actually went through a tunnel, sort of like, I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, is this kind of what people that go through a near death experience go through? I don't think it was exactly the same, but I did sense it was connecting me to the other side. And I sort of popped out on the other side and I did connect with my father. And it was so big, it was so powerful, it was so beautiful, it was so moving. I remember, I think, Brent, if you can refresh me, I think I had my hands up, like my arms up, because I felt like
Yeah.
my father was, we were in an
Mhm.
embrace, right? If I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there was you saw him like as like I think an energy form, but there was this
Yeah. Yeah.
superimposed to let you know uh I think who you were interacting with there.
Yes, he was a giant light being. Giant, giant. I mean, he filled my whole vision, the whole sky or whatever you would call it on the other side. And then so he was like very ethereal and
Mhm.
when I say a light being, just like so beautiful and sparkling and ethereal, like almost like cloud like, but it had a human form. But his face was very realistic. Like the rest of him was, like I said, ethereal and wispy and sort of see through, but with a human form. But his face was just his face, very clear and human like. And then these giant arms came out and they were reaching out almost like from the other side, kind of punching through to our
Mhm.
dimension to hug me. And I don't remember if one arm, I think both my arms went up and I was aware at some level my arms were up, but I couldn't, I was like, what are you doing? Like, are you really hugging your dad? And I was trying to see if I could pull them down. I couldn't pull them down. And then I remember just crying because everybody talks about this, but like the joy, oh my God, the out of this world love, the intensity of the love that you feel
Mhm.
when you see a deceased relative or you have one of these extraordinary experiences. Oh my God, it was amazing. And so I was very moved after that. I think you could tell, right? I
Oh,
was,
oh
I
yeah.
was crying and crying. And then when we got off and we stopped doing that, I think I sobbed for like another hour. And then I thanked my dad. And then like, I don't know, maybe a few weeks after that, I kind of felt like my dad was around me a lot after that. And then I was in my office one day and I heard my dad's voice, and it was just like somebody was almost yelling into your ear. And I just heard hospice really loud. I said, what? And then I heard hospice. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I think my dad is giving me a message that needs to be my direction. Um, because when my dad was dying at home in hospice. It was very traumatic. I was trying to give him the best possible death and be compassionate and be there for him while he had these end of life dreams and visions that were so powerful. But I
Mhm.
was the only one that seemed to understand. So he had a lot of family resistance and it was very hard for him. So I had thought about somehow, I didn't know how, working, moving in that direction after the book. But then he screamed, and I thought it was him. I mean, I don't know, but it was something like clairaudient. So I still was like, hospice, I don't know about that. I'm not sure. And at the time, like I said, I have some friends that are working and writing like curriculum on the gap of care for near death experiencers. And one of them got this whole research project she did published in by John Hopkins. So I was like so interested in this. I started thinking, you know what? Like there's still a gap of care, like even in hospice, because some of the hospice team was most of the hospice team, I'm saying they were very compassionate people, but they didn't understand or know what these experiences my father was having. So it was almost like, oh, he's experiencing terminal restlessness, or he's having hallucinations or his brain is dying. And I'm like, no, 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 you don't get it. You don't understand. So then I started thinking about, okay, well, I think there's like sort of like this gap of care just in the whole like hospice setting to a degree. So then I was like looking and, thinking about that, thinking about that, and thinking about that. And a friend of mine had once said to me, have you ever thought about becoming an end of life doula? And I'm like, I didn't even know what that was. And she explained it to me, and I said, yeah, I was with my dad and I sat with my dad, but like that would be like, a hard thing to do, and I'm not sure. But after I had that regression with Tanya, and after I started thinking about it, and then I heard that message in my ear, and then I was invited to speak at the virtual conference last year, the IANS, International Association of Near-Death Studies.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was invited to talk and share my father's story, but the story was given in the context of what compassionate care looks like for the dying versus what non-compassionate care looks like. So it's like that gap of care, and how we really need to be attentive to these spiritual phenomena that happen with the dying. And then after the conference, like the next day, I was like, oh my God, I've got to look into doula school. Like I need to do this. I felt like all of a sudden, like my dad had given me a message, and the work of my friends was pushing me in this direction. And I'd written the book, and it was all about consciousness after life and spiritual experiences. And I just started researching doula schools like a lunatic. And then I finally, I read a lot, I looked a lot, and I finally found one, and I spoke to the director, and I really liked what she had to say. And I enrolled in doula school, and I just graduated about a week ago. So yeah, and what I want to do is I want to be an educator. So I want to educate people, hospice and physicians and actually doula schools, that these end of life dreams and visions, and the symbolic language that I use to try to describe them, they're very real. And yes, sometimes people hallucinate. They do. That's true. A lot of times they're not. And by understanding these and learning how to have a dialogue with the dying, it can just really be an amazing experience. And they lose the fear of death, and a lot of times the families, it helps them lose the fear of death. And so that's the direction I'm taking.
Wow. Well, and then on April 30th, will you be attending a graduation in person, or?
Well, I wish. No, it's like all schools now, this is a really large, really, I love it. It's amazing, doula school. And it's international, like a lot of university colleges, right?
Mhm.
Programs. So because students are all over the world, it's virtual. So it's going to be a virtual graduation. So I graduate on the 30th, and then after that, I have to start studying because I want to so I'm already certified now to practice as
Mhm.
a doula. But
Okay.
unfortunately, there's state certification for doctors, for nurses, for this, for that. But at this particular moment, there is no state certification for doulas. So I'm certified by the school, which is all I need. But there is a national certification. So it's like sitting for national boards. So then you have national certification as well. So I'll be doing that. It's gonna be a lot of studying. So, it's like, oh my gosh, this is big. And I also, I wrote a course that for my doula school about what I'm talking about, to try
All
to
right.
educate doulas on this. And I think I'm going to start it out as webinars, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, and I don't know for sure, but I'm hoping it becomes part of the curriculum and I can actually teach it. So that's what I'm hoping.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
I'm Glad that me and the Medias could be a small part of that.
You guys did. No, I'm serious, Brent. I really mean this. I am not kidding. If I hadn't had that powerful, powerful, it was absolutely overwhelming and one of the most powerful experiences of my life. It was like so much realer than real. It was like, oh my God,
Wow.
multi-dimensional, everything was heightened, and the love I
Yeah.
felt. And I really felt that my dad was coming through. And I feel like it sounds corny and hokey, but I do feel like I'm working, I'm he's working through me. Like this is my path. Like he didn't get the care I wished he had gotten and that he wished he had gotten. And I don't ever want that to happen to anybody again if I can help it. So that honestly, Brett, that was probably the tipping point for me, like having an aha moment. So
Um,
yeah.
wow. Well, that's fascinating. I remember that experience, and I remember it was very powerful, profound for you at the time. You could tell, just listening to your voice alone that it was having a powerful effect on you. So I'm glad
Yeah.
it evolved in the positive way that since then. I didn't know. I don't think about you hearing your father's voice afterwards, giving you that message.
Yeah, I don't think I told you that. Yeah, I like a lot of times, people know things or they can see things. Um, I hear things, and it's not, I don't hear them a lot. I have no idea when I'm going to hear them, but I do. Those come out of the blue. And when I say scream in my ear, it's not like somebody's really screaming, but it's a voice that is very loud, very powerful, filled with authority, and whatever I'm told, it usually happens. I mean, that was just more like of a motivation or like this is your path kind of thing. But other things I've heard, it's happened. Not all of them
Yeah.
pleasant, but but so so yeah.